showing trouble if you leave an open telephone.
Good Wednesday morning, YouTube. Thank you for tuning back in with us this morning as we remember what took place 18 years ago. Stay tuned. Not one September 11th goes by, obviously, that we all don't remember and recall what took place on that morning. I was actually working at App State Police at the time and was working on doing some of the banking that morning, and I remember listening to the radio and hearing what took place when an aircraft had hit the first tower, and I tried to monitor that on the news as things were taking place that morning. And then about the time the second aircraft hit the second tower there, that's when I went back to the PD and we all regrouped to try to figure out what was going on. We gathered around the television. We were taking notes. I remember our cell service went down. Being in law enforcement, being in a first responder capacity, although it was quite a distance away from North Carolina, I remember all law enforcement, EMS, and fire were definitely on standby, on call to see what might be taking place next or what we might be able or need to be able to do. And you know, also one of the things I've thought about as we review and watch the video footage that we do have each year, I've often recalled too what it would have been like if we had drones at that time to be able to monitor some of these situations and what we could have captured or what we could have documented with that. It's just one of those things we hope and pray never happens again. But it's something to recall. It's something to remember, and I definitely say never forget. Never forget what happened that day and how it impacted us. I recall the nightmares of aircrafts crashing even here locally where I live, and just kind of even having dreams of what it would have been like to been in those in the towers at the time and what those people were experiencing. My heart definitely still goes out to those families that lost loved ones there, and just something that honestly I will never forget, and I don't think we will. I know those that have been born since then maybe not recall it so much, but I think it's important that we share with them what took place, that large terrorist attack on our nation. It's just important that we remember that. Again, I just want to touch base with you this week, kind of a follow-up. I usually try to do things on Mondays or around the weekend, but it's been a very, very busy time. The last two Saturdays, again, we've been working football games. All law enforcement with the PD there come in. Those that are off are working the football games, and awesome detail. I'm very thankful. I've been able to deploy our Matrice 210 and use that for the football games, and so we've been really working hard with that, being able to use that for different functions for documenting traffic, pedestrian egress, ingress, with the construction that's going on in the area. It's been really good for us to be able to monitor what is taking place, if there's any trouble spots or areas. The zoomable camera with the Zenmuse Z30 there, that's been wonderful. It's a great tool to have for a police department. So on Saturday, I was able to work on that. The skydivers, as you've seen there in the opening, Team Fast Tracks, America's skydiving team. Check them out on Instagram. Wonderful team. Each year they do that for us. They'll bring in the football for the game as they visit with us there. So that's a really fun thing to watch. Again, then on Monday, what I'm trying to do is get caught back up where I can do my P3 flight and my Rivers Walk flight on the same day and get in that every 2-week cycle to try to keep everything going. So Saturday I was able to do Rivers Walk, and then Monday was able to go ahead and get caught back up with P3. Got some really good photographs to document that. One of the things I was thinking about too, hopefully if we can, I'd really like to get the Matrice 210 on our show and be able to show you some of the functions and kind of show you what that's all about. So be keeping an eye out for that here in the near future. Hopefully that's something we can do as well. Now this is kind of neat here. Was able to do something I've never done before. You know how we have to register our drones with the FAA and do all of that. It acts much just like when we place a tag on our vehicle. It's registered, so you know who the owner is, basic information and what have you. Make sure everything is as it should be. Well, I had a friend bring me an aircraft. It was a Phantom 3 Standard that they'd found wrecked or crashed on their property, and he asked me, could you take a look at it and see if you might be able to identify the owner? And thankfully the FAA registration number was appropriately placed on the outside of the aircraft as it should be, and got in contact with an FAA representative, confirmed. Now I don't know how it would work as doing this as a citizen, but being a law enforcement officer, I did have to prove or authenticate my being a police officer to gather this information. But upon sharing that information, I got the contact information of the owner delivered to me. So my plans now is to contact the owner, return the craft to them, and make sure that gets back to them there. So that was kind of an interesting thing to experience this week, to see how it works and see that it does work. Very, very pleased with the interaction with the FAA representative. That was a good contact to make and to have. Something else kind of neat that I was able to do this week, and I've not actually been able to use it too much because there's not a lot of air traffic here locally in Boone where I live. We do have a small non-towered airport, but there's not a lot of communications or talks that goes on there. But I was able to pick up, and I don't know if I'm going to pronounce this the right way, but the Yaesu FTA 450L airband transceiver. So we've been placing some different bands or frequencies in the radio, so I'm hopefully being able to try to use this a little bit and maybe be able to report back to you the form or function of this and how well it works. The reason that I picked this up was recently with everything that was going on with Hurricane Dorian. Our PD is a part of the North Carolina Emergency Management Drone Call-Out System, and so I wanted to be prepared and have what we needed for unmanned to manned aircraft communication if need be, or monitoring, so that way we'd be able to keep in touch with one another. That's something I've been meaning to pick up for some time, but spoke with one of our SBI, our State Bureau of Investigation representatives. Huge help. Shout out to you, Michael. I appreciate all your help. And we were able to get some information together and pick this up here. So very thankful for that and got that going. So just a couple more things here. Preparing for a huge weekend. Huge weekend. A big weekend for Jaybird Aerials. I know I've mentioned before our work with Camp Big here in Banner Elk in Avery County. Well, that's scheduled for this weekend. I've got a Friday night and then an all-day Saturday shoot with them, and so I'm very excited about that. It's going to be a little bit of everything. It's going to be photography, video clips, just all kinds of things pulled in together to promote this camp. One of the things that they're also doing is they're having a benefit concert for those that were affected by Hurricane Dorian. So it should be some really nice footage to share with you after the fact. It's going to be taking it's going to take me a little time to get this one together. I plan to have close to, in these next 2 days, Friday and Saturday, close to 20 hours of photo capture, video capture. So I'm going to have tons of media to go through to prepare some edited photographs and also prepare some video for them to use on their website. And again, if you'd like to check them out, what it is, it's a camp designed for adults. So those that, as kids or young folks, went out to camps and enjoyed that, well, this is a camp that's designed for adults. So if you want to check them out, it's www.campbigforadults.com. So that's pretty easy for you to keep up with there. But stay tuned, and you'll be able to see some of the footage that we're going to be preparing for that if nothing happens. So that's the plan. And last of all, if nothing happens, also on Sunday I'm planning to go back out to Durham in regards to my police work for the PD there, going to some training next week, investigative type training. So it's not necessarily involving aircraft or the drone work, but it's going to be in Durham, North Carolina. So we're going to be around a lot more urban type areas and be able to see some different sites. So I do hope to be able to maybe do a show from there early next week and try to show some things. If nothing happens, I hope to go to the Raleigh-Durham International Airport there. So that should be pretty good. RDU, this usually has a pretty good spot there that you can video from, or an observation deck. So I'm really looking forward to that. But stay tuned. Thanks for checking in with us, and never forget,